In this video, I want to show you what to do if you accidentally put the wrong fluid in your power steering fluid reservoir. And I don't care what kind of model vehicle if you have a Nissan, Ford, Toyota, van, SUV, any kind of vehicle, pretty much they're all universal on how to fix the problem if you did. So basically what I'm showing you how to do is emptying out the reservoir that you might have accidentally put motor oil in it. You might have accidentally put window washer fluid in it. You know, things do happen. People make mistakes. You might have inadvertently put the wrong kind of power steering fluid in there. So for example, this is a Nissan, and a lot of Nissans like Pathfinders and Altimas, especially from the 2010s and up, uses an E-PSF, which stands for electric power steering fluid. So you might have accidentally put hydraulic power steering fluid, which is really cheap that you get at AutoZone. And a lot of people do that, accidentally do that. I've seen reviews on YouTube where people will just do it and not think a thing about it. So as you can see here, I got genuine E-PSF fluid for my Nissan. But the label on the cap should say, now, if you accidentally put motor oil in it, if you put anything like that other than power steering fluid, so if you put anything other than some kind of power steering fluid, even if it's hydraulic, for example, if you put motor oil in it, you do not want to start the engine. You may have already done it. Don't beat yourself up. Again, mistakes happen. Call a mechanic and see if a mechanic can come to your house or wherever you're at and do the job itself. They'll just basically empty it out with a turkey basin, or probably they'll have a fluid extractor that looks like that. There are flushes that are more extensive that you can do. A lot of times the dealerships will do it, and a lot of mechanics will do those kinds of things. I want to show you in this video how to extract it. If you cannot get a mechanic to come to your place, have them tow it to a mechanic and let them do that, because you do not want to drive the vehicle. You do not want to drive the vehicle with motor oil in it or some kind of other oil, because what will happen is it'll go into the rack and pinion, which is the little metal pole that goes between the two front wheels that helps turn it. It'll jam it up. Sometimes it'll corrode it. Sometimes it'll seize it up, and then you'll have to replace the whole rack and pinion system. And it is not cheap. The parts is not cheap to change your power steering system, and the labor is definitely not cheap now, these days and times. Okay, so my power steering fluid is pretty full, where I've continued to top it off over the last 10 years, but the majority of the fluid in there is about 10 years old, so it's going to be good that I'm changing it out. So like I said, you can use a turkey basin, which is really cheap if that's all you have, but I'm using this little extractor here that I got off of Amazon, and it's pretty common sense. I got my 12 inches here without the extender initially to get the fuel or the power steering fluid out, or whatever fluid that you have in there, to the initial part. And then in order to extract, you're basically just going to pull like this. This extractor is actually a filler as well. You could put fluid in here and actually push down in there. It'll actually put fluid into a reservoir. So let's go ahead and start extracting. And I want to put a cloth down so the oil doesn't spew everywhere else onto my car. All right. And go all the way up. I'm going all the way up. Then I want to dump the contents in here. Okay, so you keep removing the power steering fluid into your container until you get it all possibly out from this end. You can park your car at an angle. So for example, there's a hill here, And if you park it like at where it's on, where the engine's on an up angle slide, that's even better. After you have drained as much fluid out of here as possible, go ahead and close your lid. And what we're going to do is we're going to start the vehicle, and we're going to turn the steering wheel a couple of times. And this is basically it's basically bleeding the system. So turn it on, and then we'll just turn like this. And what that's doing is it's bleeding the remaining fluid out, so you'll be able to get the rest of it out. All right, let's go ahead and open up our lid. It hasn't been on that too long, so it's not going to be that warm. And then we're going to remove any that's come back into the reservoir. Okay, next we're going to put in some fluid. All right, so I filled up the reservoir. Next thing I want to do is I want to drive around the block and then come up, and then I'm going to empty out the remains all over again, because it'll get dirty again, and then I'll put some more fresh power steering fluid in. Okay, so I went around the block a few times, and that would pump more of the old fluid back into the reservoir, and I could see there that it's dirty. And so I'm going to go ahead and pump everything that I can get out again. Yeah, I could tell it's a lot dirtier now. I don't know how well you can see, but look how dirty that is compared to fresh power steering fluid. Okay, I'm going to put the cap back on, and then I'm going to start the engine again, and then turn my steering wheel several times back and forth. All right, let's go ahead and see if it got any more out. Yes, it did. All right, let's go ahead and top it off again. All right, then you may want to drive around the block another couple of times and rinse and repeat. So basically, drive around the block, come back again, go ahead and suck as much as you can out. You'll probably still see a little bit of dirty, and then fill it back up. Do it again. Drive around, fill it back with good, and then eventually you'll see. Just do it two. And overall, just go around the block 3 times, and then turn your steering wheel at least a couple of times. But that's pretty much how you do it on most vehicles. The ones with E-PSF is a little bit tricky. Some of them have a reservoir where it's difficult to get in, but the majority of them, vast majority of them, you just basically get a turkey basin, or you just get like a fluid injector off of Amazon. I'll put in the comment section where you can get this for approximately $10, depends on inflation. and this little funnel if you don't have one. All right, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe.